All right, so we are back at the wet spot. They have tons of species of killifish. I've only kept maybe 1 or 2 species in my entire fish keeping career, so I'm super excited to take a look at them. We have Cameron who's gonna show us them, and yeah, anything to say about killies?
They're really neat. I'm partial to the big dumb ones myself.
All right, so what are we starting with here?
So this is going to be Panchax luxophthalmus. Sometimes they're called the neon green lampi killie. I really like these guys. They're very similar in terms of look, in terms of care to the much more common Norman's lampi killifish. These get this kind of, when they settle in and when the tank is dark enough, they have really, really nice vibrant green eyeball. And of course, if you have a lot of bright light on them, you will see amazing iridescent blues and yellows to them as well. I've kept these a couple times. They've been very unproblematic for me. Granted, I didn't spawn them, which is supposed to be pretty easy as long as you have nice soft water like we have here in the Portland area. But a beautiful little schooling fish. These have done very well alongside a lot of African barbs and catfish that are a little bit on the smaller side for me, say like fire barbs. I had some for a time while they grew out, some of the African glass cats, Microcynodontis, wonderful little fish. Certainly don't need all that much room unless you have a ton of males, and then they will squabble with each other, but it's pretty rare for them to do any serious damage. I really like all the lampis. They're probably some of my favorites.
All right, what do we got here?
So these are a very interesting one. These are going to be the Filamentous Lampi killie. These are tank raised actually, so a little bit of a departure here. Admittedly, I have not kept these guys. I know that they're going to get really extravagant finnage, especially in the dorsal on males, as well as the anal fin, which, okay, go figure. That's with a lot of killies like these. But I really enjoy these as well. I do believe, if I'm remembering rightly, they stay a little bit smaller than some of the other guys. Very pretty little fish. You can see some of the yellow highlights on these guys as well throughout the body, throughout the fins. Very nice little fish, and one that we've been fortunate to get in good number. I don't know that we've ever had these guys before, or if we have, it's been years. I don't believe since I've been here. So very nice, again, nice little lampi, would do very well alongside smaller African fish.
I'd like to say, just for the video's sake, these are very hard to film, very hard to focus, and they look way better in person. All right, what's next up here?
So these are going to be Epipplatus Sex Fasciatus, the 6-barred killie. These are going to be larger guys out of Africa, going to get about 3 inches long. Very hardy, very easy to breed. This is a fish that typically can hold its own amongst larger community fish. It is going to stay near the top. I've even had luck keeping very similar fish with alongside tiger barbs, of all things. So certainly not the wimpiest thing, even if they're going to be standing up at the top. Will chase each other. Males are going to squabble quite a bit, and I wouldn't keep them alongside something like a hatchet fish or something else that's glued to the top. But a very easy, very hardy killie that is, of course, very attractive as well. You can see, looks like the vast majority of these guys are males. It's a wonderful looking animal. And again, something that if you're not necessarily into nothos, want to get into killies, want something a little bit bigger, a little flashier, fill out that top of the tank, this would be a great introduction, I think.
All right, what do we got here?
These are nice little fish. These are Appy Blocky Eye. These guys, if memory serves, are native to Thailand. They're going to be, again, one of the larger killies, depending on exactly what you normally think of for a killie. You can even see at this small size, they have this beautiful iridescent kind of jeweling along the body, and they do seem to be very even-tempered. For a lot of the larger killifish species we get, well, some of the smaller ones as well, a lot of the time we have to keep them well fed, both because we'll do that anyway, but to also keep them off each other given the larger numbers of them that we receive at one time. These guys are really unproblematic. We all seemingly here enjoy these guys, like having them around. Another very easy to keep killie, another very pretty killie. These guys are just quite small, so if you can extrapolate how beautiful they're going to be once they're much larger than this, very nice looking fish, and if memory serves, another one that's really not terribly difficult to breed.
Now for some really good looking fish. What can you say about these?
The ROV Eye, it's a fish you can buy on Amazon. Supposedly those egg kits work. They ship them from Thailand, I think, and I believe that's even Prime eligible, maybe, I don't remember. But this is going to be more of one of the classics. This is what a lot of folks think of when they think of killies, where it's going to be those commonly kept in pairs. Peat moss spawners or substrate spawners that are annual. They are one of the ones that in nature would exist for pretty much a season. But fortunately for us in aquariums, they're going to last a lot longer. And a lot of folks have reported 1.5 years out of some of these guys. They do grow very rapidly. All the annuals do, is my understanding, and these are gorgeous. These are the ones oftentimes that you'll see featured in like advertisements, because I mean, look at that orange, look at that blue, look at that red. It's a gorgeous fish. Rakovies don't seem to be too awful to each other, and I am totally copping to the fact that a lot of that is my observations here, observations in, say, like retail spaces, but typically not too bad. Friendly reminder to any folks out there that a lot of these Notho killies don't always take to dried food terribly well. A lot of the time it is going to be live or frozen, which of course will help with spawning. A lot of the time folks will get into these to spawn them. There does seem to be some level of dedication, but if you do just like having a nice little fish, doesn't need a ton of space. I know a lot of people keep Nothos in literal shoeboxes. This is a great fish. Very easy to find, very beautiful, very easy to keep. Not terribly expensive, just unfortunately has a little bit more of a limited lifespan versus other fish.
So just set up an annual subscription, get them shipped once a year, then you're good. All right, what do we got here?
So these are going to be Epipplatus panchax. These guys are the blue panchax, killie. These come from Thailand. I really, really like this fish. They're inexpensive, they're gorgeous. Both sexes are colorful. They're a lot more peaceful than some of the other congeners. They're certainly not as feisty as Golden Wonders can be. Get about 3 inches long, and I'm going to keep saying this even though I've never done it because I'm reading it. Very easy to spawn. I believe somebody on staff actually has a pair of these that they've been working with and had some success with. Get some gorgeous blue, gorgeous yellow, just really nice fish, really easy to keep. I have had these guys. I kept them in kind of a general community alongside some reasonably sized barbs, some 6-bandeds, and they did very well. We'll take pretty much any food or water parameters you can throw at them within reason. Very, very nice fish. I always like to see them. They came in with really good size this time. They've come in about half that in the past, so I'm glad to see that they've got some meat on their bones, so to speak.
I really like the blue slate color on the body. It's really pretty. All right, so this being one of the species I've actually kept, what can you tell us about these?
I really like the Australas. This is a trade morph, trade strain, whatever you want to refer to it as. Typically the chocolate Australis is going to be a lot closer to its natural ones. Australas are great. Will eat flake, very, very easy to keep. You'll see a little bit of nipping and chasing, but you can keep multiple males together very easily, I would say. You can essentially have a colony. Are going to be one that's going to be a little bit more annual, but tend to have a longer lifespan than, say, like the Nothos. Very peaceful fish. Otherwise, again, they'll chase. They're mostly bluster. Beautiful color. The females are that pleasant kind of peachy color. Very easy to spawn. I know some people have just had tanks full of like Java moss and babies just pop up. I think somebody here once was breeding these in like 2.5s on his desk. That worked very well. It's a great fish for a reason. It's been in the hobby for a while. They're very pretty. There's very little bad to say about them. Awesome fish, swim throughout the tank, good looking fish, and very available. Something that typically you'll see at most local fish stores, I would say.
Yeah, these guys are stunning. All right, so tell us about these.
They're the gold Australs, but brown, and by that, of course, they are more natural. Have I noticed any other differences than that? No. Just as easy to keep, just as easy to spawn, just as personable, just as attractive. It's a great fish, and especially this guy right here. That's awesome contrast. Australs are some of my favorites. I would love to get my hands on some with location. Personally, that's what I'm kind of into, but I really like this fish. They've always been awesome, and they've been really effective as dithers in my experience for like crevensis types. I've used them as such to draw out shy pairs of cribs that I've had, and it's always worked really well. Hardy as a mule, very adaptable. These are, I would say, probably the beginner killifish for a lot of reasons.
All right, back to a lot of color. What do we got here?
We have NOA Branchus Rubrenis. I really like this fish. My understanding is there's a couple different locations that are going to vary significantly in the amount of blue and red that you'll see. Regrettably, I don't know the location for these. We don't typically have that from our suppliers, so they're just going to be labeled as a trade strain for now, but they are gorgeous. I really like these guys. This is one of the few Nothos that I've kept. They're a little feistier. They do hate each other a little bit, especially males, but they're not outrageously aggressive. Again, same caveats where a lot of Nothos can apply. A little jumpy, watch the females, give them food, preferably not dried. But a gorgeous little killie, another one that's not terribly difficult to keep at all in my experience.
All right, what do we got here?
These are NOA Branchus Flomantis, which is a great species name. The Kisaki kili, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that would be the location. No further data than that. These guys, in my experience, are very similar to the Rubrenis. They're almost kind of like the reverse, where they have red versus blue and vice versa compared to the Rubrenis. Another one, again, a little bit feistier to each other, and there are different locations that are going to vary with the amount of red and kind of like this butterfly patterning on the anal fin in the males, but otherwise unproblematic to keep.
All right, now I've always had my eye on these, but I've never kept them. What can you tell us?
Bivs are great. I really love Bivatotums. They are, I would say, one of the most peaceful Aphyosemian. I don't know that I've ever seen males like slaughter each other, at where still just get a few nips and dings out of the fins. I really like the females. They have kind of like a rosy undertone. They almost look like a marginatus pencil if you squint a little bit. But very nice fish, very attractive, and again, has all the nice upsides that Aphyosemian will. They are jumpers, but otherwise would be a really good community fish for reasonably chosen African smaller fish. Could they live in a larger community among swimming tetras? I've seen it done. As somebody who tried it and the Achilles got a little skinny, be mindful of what you put these with, but certainly not so selective as you can only keep them with themselves. Very nice kili. Really love the look of these guys.
All right, so these are probably my favorite that you guys have right now. Tell us about these.
I like the Guntherite because they look like they're waving little pom-poms, which is really funny. That's why I like Pseudomucals as well. These guys are mean to each other.
Really?
No offense, Guntherite. You can see some of the fins on the males here, on the females as well, just a little bit chewed. Something that we'll do, depending on the number of kilis in our tanks actually, is the amount of structure and the amount of plants we have in there. We also have these black neons as dithers in there to help kind of distract them, help them feel confident, help draw them off the bottom if they're feeling scared, but also to distract them a little bit. A male chasing a black neon who's been here for a while is a lot better than him chasing some of his buddies or some of the ladies in here. Otherwise, pretty simple Nothobranchius care. This is a very beautiful fish, as you can see. A lot of differences in the color, and the yellow is especially impressive, especially along that blue eye. Very nice fish, one that I haven't gotten around to keeping, but definitely one on my list. I do really like these guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting some of these myself. All right, so this looks kind of familiar. What do we got here?
These are the Albino ROV Eyes. Ooh, fancy. Are they truly albino, given that they have blue? I don't know. I'm not the guy that decides that. Am I one of the people that think that albinism means their vision is worse? I can't tell if these are appreciably less good at seeing than other guys. They're going to be just as gorgeous in, I would say, most folks' eyes as your standard ROV Eye. I haven't really noticed any differences in care myself versus seeing them here versus the standards, but otherwise going to be a nice standard note though. Given that they are going to be a little bit more inbred, these do, as far as I'm aware, always come out albino. Never bred them myself. This is speculation. Might be a little bit more fragile, but otherwise I've seen that their care is exactly the same as the standard ROV Eyes. I kind of like it, to be honest with you. I'm not always big on albinos, but the red and the blue I think is a really nice contrast.
Yeah, it looks really good. All right, another staple that I see all the time. Tell us about the Gardner Eye.
Oh, the Gardner Eye kili. I have a lot of thoughts about these for some reason. Fungilopanchax are kind of a weird one. I always think of them as kind of like little dog-like kilis. They do have kind of that bigger head. They'll chase a nip enough for it to be annoying. They're not mean. You can see they're here with their yet more black neon dithers. Sometimes those will have short gill plates, so they get to stay here as little helpers. I've been told that Gardner Eye, if you keep enough of them in a group with enough structure, you can essentially make them colonial, which I find funny.
Oh, wow.
Have little tricorn hats, have a bunch of little babies popping up out of plants. Of course, they're very attractive. We are fortunate that these do have location, P82, which, as far as I'm aware, is the most common one in the hobby. Gorgeous yellow, gorgeous red, and Fungilopanchax are going to be another one that don't tend to live as long, but you should at least get a couple years out of them, is my understanding. Very nice fish. I've only ever kept other Fungilopanchax that I received via the mail, of course, so I don't necessarily have experience with these, but this is one that I've had buddies breed again in 2.5 gallons, which they then reared fry in. Very, very easy to keep. These have been around long enough that, again, I don't think anyone really needs to do anything terribly special to keep these, frankly, special kilis. They're gorgeous. I mean, look at them.
Yep, beautiful. All right, there you have it. Thank you so much for showing us the killifish. As
course.
always, head on over to wetspot.tropicalfish.com. Use code Steenfott10 for 10% off. And any final words on killifish?
I think they're neat, and someday I will yet get my hands on Australabius elongatus again.
All right, well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.